Hi, everybody. Welcome to Creator to Creators. Today we have a special guest. What's your name?
Bankolé.
Welcome to the show. Yay.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Oh my God. I was thinking, I was like, who can I have on? And I thought about you. I was like, oh my God, yes, you'd be perfect on the show. I think you're so talented and, all the things that you're doing. I mean, I know you, but the audience, they don't know what you do. Tell us about, the beginning. Where are you from and why producing and acting? I think you're an actor too. I saw on your IMDb, you act as well.
I've done a few things, never really went after the acting per se. And most of the things that I've done as far as acting, I actually was asked to do it.
Wow.
So it's like, so what you saw, you're probably talking about the Issa Rae. I did something with Issa Rae. I played a deacon, and she had asked me to play that. And that was prior that she was producing for her outlet, her own TV company outlet that she had structured. I think it's still up. She's got a couple of different projects that she developed. This is before Insecure that she was doing this. Like, of course, you're probably familiar with Awkward Black Girl and a few other things that she's done on her own channel.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. That was pretty fun. I actually did a couple of things with her, actually, come and think about it. But, I've done a few other projects as far as acting, but never really pursued it. I was actually asked to, like, you should go for it, years ago, but I don't know, just didn't have the drive to actually focus on acting.
I see. Yeah. So, I mean, how did you get into the producing world? Like, did you always know that that was like the path, or what kind of led you down that road?
Okay, well, I'm originally an artist, a visual artist, like painting and sculpting, et cetera, et cetera. And I've always been interested in, creating, different worlds and, different things and building, with my imagination. So I just felt as though, producing my art and making it like come to life was what I wanted to do. So it started off with me actually with theater. And I was actually creating projects that were actually coming from, my visual. Then I got lucky. I met Woody King from New Federal Theater, and he became like a mentor. And I kind of used New Federal Theater as an auspices to create my own plays.
Nice.
And really did a lot of like avant-garde type of projects in reference to my personal stuff. And of course, I assisted New Federal Theater with their projects as well. But as far as my projects, they were like avant-garde. And it's so funny because back when I was doing a lot of those particular type of production, I was calling it avant-garde. But they were pretty cool projects as far as some of the projects that I brought to life.
Wow.
I remember I did one piece dealing with Billie Holiday and her mother called Billy's Blues. And that was an ensemble of like 9 actors. And it was literally about, Billie Holiday's mother left her in Baltimore. She's originally from Baltimore. And Billie Holiday's mother went to New York. And, just to pursue a career, she wound up cleaning this prostitute brothel or something like that. And she said, I don't know if she sent for Billy, but Billy wound up following her. And her mother was, they say, anywhere from like 11 to 13 years older than Billy. So, she was pretty young herself. So they had this like sister-like relationship, love-hate type of scenario. And really won some awards actually for that particular play.
That's great.
And yeah, so
what
I'm answering your questions all the way. You asked me a couple of things that I didn't even answer. Before we get into it, you asked me where I was originally from. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I claim Philadelphia and New York, right? So now I actually live in LA, and I still live in New York. I'm bi-coastal. but in reference to producing, I've always wanted to produce, and the drive to producing came from, as I stated before, that creative element of trying to make magic happen, whether it was on stage or like on film or what have you. I transitioned over to film. I was actually working for a company called Box Fresh Cell Trip, and it was a small boutique production company that was really focusing on like music videos at the time. We had clients that were advertising agencies that would give us the projects that they didn't want to work on. We had clients like Nike, a couple of other outlets. But the thing about this boutique production company, it was a $7 million production company, and we were, I produced, I did art direction, did a few couple of things, but that wasn't connected to, say, the film industry. So I just so happened to have had friends that were in the film industry, and originally I thought that I wanted to direct, right? And because I was directing my theater stuff, but and I've directed a few projects, but mostly it became, just focusing on producing when it comes to film.
You said you're producing film. What kind of movie or what quality or element does it for you to like? I'm sure you get a lot of people want you to produce stuff, right? So what kind of makes you like say, yeah, that's a good project. I want to help. I want to get into that, or like what's something that stands out for you as a producer? Like, yeah, I want to do this. I'll take on this project.
I'm mostly prone to artistic, projects, even though I've worked on all different types of projects. People come to me, like if I'm developing it, or if someone is coming to me to hire me as a producer, rent has to be paid. So, sometimes I work on certain projects that's not really my thing, but they have a budget, so I'll make it happen. But in reference to the projects that like drive me, they're more, they would probably be more for the art house type of theaters. For example, one of the last feature films that I was an executive producer on was called Dominion. Now it's called Last Call. And that was a film about a famous poet in the turn of the century who pretty much drank himself to death. And it was starring John Malkovich, shot by Steve Bernstein. Films like that. Like my most recent docu-feature that I'm a co-producer on is called House of Cardin, centered around Pierre Cardin. So and I was asked to be a part of that project. I'm a co-producer on that. So I like projects in that realm.
I like that. It's you have a versatile, which is great. I think that's. Right. It's very eclectic. You have a really cool, nice taste. So I'm wondering now that you're kind of what you want. Is there anything was there any challenges along the way getting there? Like, can you talk about that? Any like things that you kind of, whether it's a project you were given that there were some challenges making it, or
challenges. There are still challenges. Yeah. If you look at, and everything is not like on IMDb, right? But if you look at my resume, you would think, this kid has done a few things or what have you, right? But I'm still in the mode of branding myself, right? Right. So, like, for example, you're saying, like, you've looked at some of the things I've done, and you're like, you've done some good things, but as far as your audience is concerned, it's their first time meeting me. Right. Where they would know, like, say, a Spielberg or a Spike Lee, So now I'm in the mode of wanting to brand myself so that, if not on that level, close by. And it just makes things a little easier, I think, in reference to, because this, as far as producing is concerned, is all about relationships. It's all about, your Rolodex, like in reference to as far as executing film projects, more so about getting to the money, right? And
Right.
it's not always that simple and easy to find the money. Depending
Right.
on the project, if the project is bankable, everything is together, it already has distribution, it has that A-lister, that makes everything a lot easier, right?
Right.
Then there are other projects that, may not have those different facets to it. You just got to figure out. The good thing is there are a whole lot of people who want to be involved with, so if you can find some of those people, then it makes things a lot easier in reference to, say, independent films that aren't necessarily attached yet, or may not, be looked at as bankable, for like an investment group that normally invests in, films. Documentaries are a different scenario, because for the most part, with if you're doing documentaries, if you wanted to shoot a docu-feature, you have investors, you can go for investors, but it's a lot easier also to go for grants and, it's just different ways of making projects happen.
I like that. No, that's great. That's really cool. Yeah, it's very informative. Thank you. Also, I'm just curious, as a creator, there's you got your Spike Lees, right? That knows that has a niche, right? He knows his audience. He's always, he has talks about, a lot of social and political things, and also things that to deal with in the race in African American experience.
Right.
Would you say that as a creator, do you think you have a responsibility to show that in some type of way of your work, whether it's political, whether it's what's going on right now with Black Lives Matter, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it's organic. I am who I am. I'm unapologetically, Black, right? And I say that to say, and I get that from the documentary about the first African-American boxer. So I don't negate, myself or my history, and you tend to, see it. I don't push things. I'm not okay, super political per se, but
yeah.
a part of who I am is that. You know what I mean? So it's going to reflect in, the projects that I'm developing, that I'm creating. There are no apologies for that. That's who I am. So if people want to look at that politically, that's on them. But for example, give you a perfect example. We talk about history, we talk about culture, we talk about time, we talk about region. So if I were to say do a film set, during the time of Jesus, right? I would frame it not by how our society looks at things today, and I would frame it by the time, the region, around the, as far as the culture of that time, and try to create a film that kind of reflects, the reality of, that time frame, if that makes sense. And it's not pushing it like I'm trying to make a point. It's you're doing your research and you're trying to bring things together to tell a perfect story. So, but people have issues. So people may look at that film and have issues because of their political beliefs or their inferiority, superiority complexes. But I don't deal with that. I just I just am, and I just create.
I love that. I love that. If there was a biopic based off your life, who would play you?
Oh wow, who would play me? I never thought of that before. If it were now, and may Chad rest in peace.
I
would love him to play me. He was he was a friend. You know what I mean? So, but you know what? I don't know. Who do you see playing me?
I was gonna say Denzel.
Denzel? Who's Denzel?
Denzel Washington.
He's playing me. He's older. He's like, I'd be playing him.
I'm thinking about the acting wise, like the overall body of work, which is he would have your whole career, the whole thing down.
You look
Yeah.
at that's a compliment. You Denzel Washington playing me. You picked like this amazing actor, and this like and you thought of me. That's like, that makes me blush. Wow, really? That's how you see me? Okay.
I see you. I see you.
All right. Now I gotta sit up straight. Now I gotta.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to, get into this business?
You just have to be steadfast and keep going for it. Not giving up, right? And it's always best to be prepared. But once again, it's about building relationships, right? Because people will do things for you because they like you, right?
Yeah.
But if you are in that scenario that you have an opportunity to get to, make things happen, then you definitely have to be prepared. Just because you like doesn't really mean too much, right? Now, that may work for certain people because they already have like a core of people around them that's looking out for them and kind of like paving the way to make things a little easier. But that's not like the regular story. Even if you're around people and they really like you, you still gotta play your part and kind of like manifest, what you say you can do.
Right.
Absolutely. So, but relationships it's literally the key. And I would say, just to be genuine, but everybody's not really genuine, especially in this industry. But I give you one story. I was in my 20s and I was working on a project that I was producing. A friend of mine was trying to raise monies for like 7 years. And he just didn't have any luck. So I took it on, and I was like in my mid-20s. And I was like, I can help you make this happen, And I had no clue what I was doing, but I was able to, connect the dots. I had like Julius Irving as a consultant producer on it, right? So of course, Julius Irving, the amazing old school basketball player. So of course the film was centered around, basketball, college basketball player or what have you. And I had so many other people attached to it. So with that being said, I met this gentleman by the name of Kearney Anderson. And Kearney at the time was this older gentleman who was, he was like real big in radio, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he was so big, he helped to make Larry King's career, even though he was a little younger than Larry King. That's how big he was. But when I met him, he was like pretty much almost in retirement, but he was running, I think it was WBLS in New York. And he's the gentleman who brought Wendy Williams back from Philadelphia to New York, because she was kicked out of New York at one time and she was doing her thing in Philly. But Kearney brought her back to New York, right? So I meet him. We talk for like 10 minutes. I'm telling him I'm working on this project called, I think it was called One Shot Too High, right? He's like, yeah, come see me, So 2 weeks later, I go to see him. And I'm thinking, I'm gonna sit down with him, talk to him, try to get him to invest in the project. And he'll, take some time to think about it. And maybe in a few weeks, he'll call me back and give me yes or no. So I get there. No, when I first met him, we only talked for like 10 minutes at this social event. Yeah. So when I get to the radio station, I'm sitting down, I'm a little, nervous. I'm like, I don't know, 25, and well, what are you asking for? And I said, well, I need $100,000, right? And he was like, you know what? He's like, I like you. He said something about you that I really like. And that goes, he says, that goes far in this industry. He said, I don't know a bleep, because he's a different word, but he was like, I don't know a bleep about, I'm a music guy. I work with the best of them, Will Smiths to this and that. But you got something there. He said, I'm not gonna give you $100,000. I'm gonna give you something. So I was like, okay. So I get my lawyer on the phone, who was at the time like my best friend, because at the time I wasn't, paying her to be my lawyer, but she was part of my project. So she sent the paperwork the whole nine. This dude wrote a check for $20,000, right? that day. He had only talked to me 10 minutes beforehand.
Right.
And that day I realized, right, that, you know, people will do for you because they feel comfortable around you, that, because they like you, right?
Right.
And I was prepared. I had everything together, but he didn't really look at it.
Right.
Now, so that told me, I said, okay, so if that's the fact, if that for a person like me, that's I can relate, and people want to work with me or what have you, I better be prepared. And I don't know everything. I don't know the ins and outs or what have you, but if I don't, I'm gonna make sure that I have a Rolodex of people who know the things that I don't know. So when it comes time, I can put that solid team together to make things happen. And I've been good at that.
I love that.
Now, people, reach out to me to work on, want me to work on their particular projects, and there are projects that I find that I want to develop, so it works, different type ways. But that's where I am. That's where I am now, and I'm developing now, like centered around, like during COVID, I had some mental, like everybody, like the first few weeks of quarantine, you're like, what is going on here? And things shifted, stopped in reference to how they normally flowed. But after the 3 weeks, I kind of like, brushed off the cobwebs and was like, you know what, I gotta figure some things out, and I gotta, get back into being me. And even though it's not the same, I'm still, making things happen, on the level of being an independent producer during
COVID. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing that you're doing that. And that was literally my question, like how are you staying balanced? And it seems like you're doing okay, and that's good.
I'm doing okay right now. I'm working on I'm working on a few things, but right now I was just offered that was a couple of weeks ago, because we've been working on it, but I'm doing a virtual award fundraiser show, and it'll be the first annual virtual award fundraiser show, and it is for this foundation called Rush Philanthropy Art Foundation, and they do this thing every year called Art for Life, where they raise funds, and this is 25th anniversary. So this year is because of COVID. Part of the structure this year is to do a virtual show.
Nice.
To go with this art auction that they do for like 2 weeks. So I'm producing a 2-hour show for them right now.
That's gonna be fun.
Which actually it live streams on November 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta check that out. Well, congratulations.
I'll make sure I get you the information so you can definitely check it out. And then before COVID, I wasn't really focusing on, say, like short films anymore, because I felt as though like I've done that in the past or what have you. But since COVID has happened, I've been focusing on a lot of short films. Okay, let me backtrace. When I say focus on short films, meaning I wasn't really into producing a lot of short films anymore, unless they were a concept for like a feature, right?
Right.
And then I would, say, okay, this is a proof of concept with the idea of I'm going to make a feature film. But since COVID has happened, I kind of like opened up, and I've been producing some some short film projects too. And because there's a market out there for like short films as well. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, right. And when I'm producing also, even though I'm not like the idea of going into them, a lot of them aren't about producing the feature. A lot of the ones that I'm working with could actually be features too. So it's a win-win situation.
That's awesome.
And
I love that.
And finding other ways to like keep my sanity. Like during this time, I've created like 3 podcast type shows, but visual shows.
Nice.
One's called Temporary Interruption, where I've been talking and interviewing friends and associates, mostly in the business, but you don't necessarily have to be in the business. Friends and associates on Instagram
Nice.
live. But while I'm doing it, it's like laid back. So I'm just usually during the time of like my lunchtime or my dinner time. So I'm cooking up a little dish, and then I show it afterwards. And we, you know, and I have another one called apple cider because it's organic, and that one was originally supposed to be focused around music, like as the backdrop, but it's become more than just like, you know, music because of the guests, the different guests that I have on there, and there's a couple of other ones as well.
All right, I love it. You got a lot going on. I gotta check it out.
Yeah.
I gotta try your cooking one day.
Oh,
one
for sure.
day, because I see you cooking up. I'm like, you're like.
You know, when you're back in town and you feel comfortable, you know, come on over and I'll hook it up. You know?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. I love to eat. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to you and just learning about your journey. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. And I guess for those of you who want to just get a glimpse of what I'm doing, you can, I guess, go to IMDb and T.Bankole, and you'll see a few of the projects that I'm working on. And
yeah, and your what's your Instagram handle as well for people to follow you?
Instagram is Bankolé 3. So there's B as in ball, Ankole 3.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Until next time, live, love, laugh. Bye.